Welcome to LOA Today. Walt Thiessen and Louis D'Souza here. Today is Monday, January the 7th, 2019. It's 8 a.m. in New York and 5 a.m. in Los Angeles, 1 p.m. in London and Sydney, Australia. It's around midnight. Wherever you are in the world, thank you for tuning in. We love having you join us either for the live stream or for the podcast recording. Either way, of LOA Today for your daily dose of happy. And Louis, how you doing? You having I hope you had a happy weekend. You usually do. You always have a happy day, so I'd be surprised if you said something else. But how's it going?
Well, just got back from Austria, and we've been doing spring cleaning this morning, so it's just busy.
So if you're in Austria, that means that you were in the mountains and you were having fun. Were you doing some skiing?
We're in the Austrian Alps, yeah. And my wife has been skiing from 3 years old. My daughter's been skiing from 3 years old.
Cool.
I do a bit of cross-country skiing, but I quite enjoy the water features and, you know, the saunas and jacuzzis and all the swimming things out there.
Right.
You could go get hot and then go sit in the cold snow and let the steam come off the body and cool down, and then you go back and you get nice and pink and healthy and detoxed. I love it.
I love just hearing you talk about the fact that you love it. I'm not sure I'd want to do that, but you love it so much, and that's all that really matters, really.
You know me, I'm the sauna guy.
You certainly are, yeah. Did you start a sauna group in Austria to accompany the one that you have in London?
Language barrier is a bit of an obstacle, but otherwise
I didn't think that would stop you, but okay. Oh, that's funny. Well, listen, it's great talking to you again. The topic, I don't know if you remember what we came up with last week, but we were going to talk about doing children. Yeah, which is fascinating because I've been talking about it off and on with friends and a little bit on the podcast too, about how children are amazing in their ability to know exactly what they want in life intuitively. And I guess it's because they were so recently in the non-physical, but I've known that since long before I knew about the law of attraction, and just marvel at how, I don't care what age they are, they just have this incredible ability to know exactly what they want, usually in the face of what the adult thinks that they really need to have the most. But the adult's usually wrong, the child's usually
Absolutely.
right. It continues to marvel. And when I heard the Abraham description, the explanation about why it is that kids are like that, I said, well, yeah, that makes total sense. It's like, yeah, that's got to be it, because I've known about the phenomenon for a long time, but to have the explanation, well, that makes it easier. So anyway, what do you think about you're the one who came up with the topic, I think. What do you think about children where the law of attraction is concerned that is really useful to adults? And see if you can keep it under an hour.
Well, I think we have to broach the basics. So the basics are you're non-physical before you come into the physical universe. And as you want things and you don't get them, you age and grow older.
Interesting.
You destroy your health and eventually you die.
You just summarized human life in about 2 sentences. It didn't take an hour.
I know,
Very
isn't
good.
that fun? So when you're looking at children, when you're looking at your death, you release all the resistance. So all the stuff you didn't want in life, all the stuff that you didn't manifest, you die and you go into non-physical, into your vortex, which of course has everything you ever wanted instantly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when a baby comes into the physical universe, when a new child comes into the physical universe, it comes in resistance-free. Okay, and then of course it binds with a parent who has resistance, and the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, so the child starts picking up right from conception, starts picking up bits and pieces of the resistance of the parents along the way. And of course it still has a thought process even at that stage of the game, so it is still choosing all along the way.
As you're describing that, I was just realizing there's an irony there. The irony is that medical science, pediatricians and so forth, will tell us that when the child is in utero and developing and so forth, one of the most important things is that the parent is helping to provide resistance for the child. They mean it in a different way, but it's the same word, and in some ways it's the same concept.
How do they define resistance?
Resistance to disease.
Oh, and how would you do that?
Through the sharing of the white blood cells and the adult parent's ability, their body's ability to fight disease. So the theory is that that ability.
So breastfeeding would be good, and
right, all that kind of thing. Yeah.
Give them resistance. So
yeah.
Resistance is not a problem, okay, as long as you follow the rocket of desire for what you want that comes out of it.
True. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people who, even following the Abraham teachings and the law of attraction, still say you must shun the negative and only go where the positive is. And that's a very flawed philosophy. It's a very flawed concept, because everybody knows that they're going to have a negative experience. You know, you can't eliminate it if you're living in the physical universe, because you're living in a contrasting universe. And you want it. You came here to have the negative things happen to you so that you can expand out of them. So when you know what you don't want, you can have a better idea of what you do want. So this non-physical child has come in with, I wanted to give you an example of a lady. She came to Abraham and said, you know, I'm a midwife and I give birth to children, help give birth to children.
that can get a little bit complex, yes.
Well, we can give birth to their own child, as my wife did. So she said, you know, I feel this incredible energy from them at birth. And, you know, sometimes it lasts minutes, sometimes an hour. But it's not very long, and then it's gone. And she said, and Abraham was saying, yes, what you're contacting with, what you're touching with, is the source energy that the baby's bringing out with them, that powerful non-physical energy. And she said, Abraham was saying that, you know, try and keep them in that place for as long as possible. Obviously, the momentum of the law of attraction is what you're looking for there.
Right.
And Abraham was saying, you know, keep your alignment so that you can help them keep theirs. Okay. So when we're looking at children right from birth, they're teaching you alignment first, alignment trumps all. So you're getting these teachers that are coming in instantly. I mean, many of us who have had children, I think, have had this feeling about a newborn child. Has been, you know, it's my own experience of my first child was one of incredible love. That's the only word I can really use to describe it. And it was so strong and so profound that I was quite blown away by it. Mm-hmm. To be honest, my second child wasn't like that at all. My second child, when I looked into her eyes as she was given birth in the toilet downstairs.
I love it.
So both my children were born in the same toilet downstairs, and my wife is a nurse and was quite happy to have. I'm being off track here, but I might as well give you a scenario about how my two children were born. And she was happy to have a home birth, both for the first and second child, and. You know, we'd prepared for it, and I'd got a water pool for the first one, and, you know, I knew the labor was coming, so I started setting it up, and it takes forever if you try and use an inside hose pipe for the hot water to try to fill up one of these huge birthing pools. So, the water wasn't anywhere near full. By the time the birth came, because she came, my first child came in 2 hours. And my wife delivered her herself, and the midwife, I phoned the midwife services, and I said to them, you know, my wife's, you know, in labor. Oh, is this your first child? Don't worry, it'll be hours. I said, no, I don't think so. I said, no, don't worry. And I phoned them back 5 minutes later, and I said, the water's broken. They said, oh. I phoned them 5 minutes later. I said, the head's there. I said, well, you better call an ambulance because the midwife will never get there on time. So I spoke to the 911 guy, and he helped me deliver the child. Well, my wife delivered the child all by herself, to be honest. I was walking past the toilet as I saw my wife grab between her legs, pick up the little one, and put it on her lap.
Wow.
So as I was trying all these calls to sort things out.
Right.
And the midwife who was preparing for the second one said, "Wow, it was an incredible first birth. It might be quick for the second one. So, call me early." So we called her early, and of course the second one came in 1 hour, same scenario. Boof, within seconds, within 1 hour, my second child was given birth in the same toilet downstairs, in exactly the same way.
Your children really knew when they wanted to arrive in this world. They were absolutely certain about it.
Absolutely. They were certain. They knew I was a cool dude. And my wife.
Yeah, I'm sure their mother had nothing to do with it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, nothing. So, the second one, the first one was just pure love. And my second child, when she looked into my eyes, kind of got this really strong impression. She was saying, "I know what to do, you know what to do, let's get on with it." I was like, okay, this is different from the first time.
Yeah, I'd say.
Completely different. So
That's
I was
funny.
excited about that because, a child that just wants to get up and go, which is really much how she's been, and she's 3 years old now, and she's just off. She's on a mission, and she's just going for it, and I love it.
Wow, that's
Very
fabulous.
proud of it.
We actually had a question yesterday that it touches on children in the sense of adult children, but I thought I'd bring it in because of the topic. One of our listeners who admitted she had been lurking for quite some time actually kind of came out of the closet. Lurking, yeah.
We've got lurkers
We
here.
have lurkers. That's how you know you're succeeding, when you have lurkers, right? But she'd been lurking, and she said she had a question she wanted us to address, so Anne-Marie and I tried to address it, but I wanted to get your take on it. She said that her daughter's been going through some tough stuff, and I don't know if I have the exact question written out. I'll see if I've got it. But the gist of it was that she was feeling frustrated, not quite sure how to handle the situation, how to help her daughter, and it had gotten to the point where she was frustrated, didn't know what to do. She wasn't real specific about details, but the gist of it was that the daughter seemed to be going off in one direction and the mom wanted her to go in another direction. That's what we kind of inferred from it. So, and again, this is an adult child. It is not a young child. But just curious to know what your take is on that.
Well, the first thing that pops into my mind is if you're frustrated, you're not in alignment. You're not in alignment, you're no use to the kid.
Good point.
Okay.
Of course, now parents deal with frustrations a lot, and that was part of what Anne-Marie was talking about, because she also has had frustrations with children.
And again, if you're frustrated with your child, go to your room, do some meditation, get into alignment, then go back to your child. Say, hang on, just sit there for a while. I'll speak to you about this situation later. I need to cool off. All right? Then you go off and you cool off. So you cool off by getting into alignment. When you're in alignment, you go back and you make rational decisions, because I've made endless irrational decisions when I've been angry with my child.
I think most of us have made endless...
I give them punishments that do not fit the crime.
I think we've all made endless amounts of irrational decisions under a wide variety of circumstances, so it doesn't matter whether we have kids or not. We've all been there. We've all done that, right? Yeah.
So restraining yourself and getting to the core of things is very, very important. So do people really believe that one person in alignment is worth millions? Is a million times more powerful than somebody who's not. So one person in alignment is more powerful than millions that aren't.
I think if you've ever been really highly in alignment, where everything just feels great, you probably feel it then. But I would say most of the time, most people don't believe it. Not really. Yeah. They'll say they will. They'll say that they believe it. To be PC and all that kind of thing. But
I was looking at a scientific study the other day, and they were proving that Jesus was in 2000, and they've got this emotional scale which they rank everybody in and all the rest of it. But they've now scientifically proved that somebody who's in a happier place is more powerful.
Really? How did they manage to do that?
Powerful. I have got the video, and maybe we can put it in with this thing, because it's very much in alignment with Abraham Hicks. and it's coming from a slightly different angle. It's coming from a lady who is a medical intuitive. Not that she mentions those words anywhere, but I've realized that what she says, her ability is exactly the same as Carolyn Mace's. It's very easy to watch, and she goes into the explanation about this whole study in her talk. And I think it's reassuring for people who study the Abraham Hicks teaching to see it studied in a different way, from a different viewpoint, from a different angle. And it definitely gave me some greater validation to that point. To me, I'm seeing it very, very clearly. I'm seeing that the decisions I make are much, much, much better when I'm happy than when I'm not. And, there's more and more evidence in my life that this is exactly the way it is. And I don't doubt it for a second, but finding more evidence from different people in different places is really, to me, quite exciting. That are proving that this is the case. So a child teaches us huge amounts. So my daughter, when she was born, was teaching me what it's like, or what alignment is really, really like. Because, I was lying in the bed. I see you've vanished there, Walt.
Oh, I went off the video again. That
happened yesterday. Okay.
That happened yesterday. I don't know why it's doing that, but I know why. It's because I'm doing this. Yeah, that'll do it. If you use the wrong keyboard, you get the wrong result. That's funny how that works. There we go. Okay.
Yeah, so it's really, really interesting, because I was watching during the holiday season all my cousins. So there's 6 of the kids playing out there in the snow. And I often go out and play with them, so I'm running around playing monsters, so I just go catch them and throw them around and play with them and all the rest of it, and they absolutely love that. But when I go, I'm going to catch you, some of them get quite scared. I must be a scary uncle or something. My daughter doesn't get that scared, but my little one does, and my older one doesn't. She's used to me now. But the younger one does get a bit scared. And I was watching this one get really scared. I'm not going to mention it in case they ever watch this.
Understandable.
Which one? Names and places have been changed to protect innocent people involved. No. And I realized that the fear was going on too long. So a little bit of fear, and running away is fine, fight and flight. But this was just really quite petrified. And I knew within seconds of this going on that he was going to hurt himself. Because I've seen time and time and time again when I'm playing with the children that when they're angry or frustrated and when they're fearful, then the accidents happen, the damage happens, he hit his head quite hard on the snow. It wasn't that bad. There was no mark or bruise or anything, but and I could see it was all because he was feared. He had opened himself to be vulnerable. When you open yourself to be vulnerable, you can really be affected. Now, if you keep your center, if you keep your happiness, you can be thrown all head over heels and land in the snow and all the rest of it. Nothing will happen to you. So you have the same experiences, but you don't have the negative consequences that come with it.
Right.
I really wanted to bring that in, is that just because you're focused on what you want and you're being nice and kind and good and aligned doesn't mean you don't have endless amounts of experiences that you can have. You can be in a car crash that tears a car to pieces, kills everybody else in the car, and you'll be completely safe. And I've heard so many stories about that kind of scenario that the person who was asleep and didn't know what was going on wasn't affected at all. And the person who was driving home angry because of something or whatever was harmed, etc.
Right.
So it's really to do with whatever somebody's point of attraction is. Now, that person was in a massive car crash, and I'm thinking of a specific one, which was quite amazing. The whole car was totaled, and the way it was totaled. The whole thing was an incredible story. It's quite a good book, actually. I'll maybe recommend it at some stage. So your children's are often in alignment. Now, I've done this as well, but I picked up this with my wife. She was, my daughter, my older daughter, was very, very happy. And my wife was saying, no, don't do this, go there, do that. She was trying to control her. And I was saying to my wife, who's teaching who here? My daughter is a lion and she's happy, and you want to control her and make her do something else.
Right.
And in an unhappy way. So, and we all do that. I mean, I've done it many times. So it was just becomes clearer and clearer to you what you were saying and when you're saying and how you're saying it. It's like I was walking to school the other day with one of the moms, and my daughter fell and hurt herself. And the other mom said, oh, it's not sore, it doesn't hurt. And I was like, what? How can you say that? Look, she's obviously in pain. And, it doesn't help not to face it. So it's very important to, when you see somebody hurt, you don't go and slap them in the face and say, start smiling. It doesn't help.
Well, okay? I especially like the way you describe that, too, because what really needs to happen is to not take it seriously. So here you have this other mother who was using words to say, I'm not going to take this seriously, but her emotions were saying that she was all upset about it. There was a contrast there, a little contradiction going on.
And that contradiction really confuses children because they're hearing something and they're feeling something else.
Right, yeah.
Okay. And it works with us too when I'm saying something that's out of alignment. You've picked me up a few times already on here. So, well, what about this? And, I was like, yeah, okay, you're right. Because
we all do it. That's just what happens.
The words don't match the action. And,
right.
And when your parents are saying something, but then you're saying, I'm not quite sure if that's right. I don't quite believe that. I don't think they're really going to punish me if I do that. Okay. I'm going to have to test them. So,
right.
And the reason you test the parent is because you want to see the alignment. You want to see the words meeting the action.
Good point.
Because then you are feeling confident and that this is the way it should be and this is the way I should respond. Because so the alignment from the child teaching the parent and the parent also teaching the child, it's important to get that alignment right. Really mean what you say.
We actually have a live example of that because Shelley Everly, who does the Monday evening podcast with me, is tuning in, and she has a question combined with a little bit of information. She says her son has taught her so much about allowing. He was born as a female and is now on testosterone therapy. He's been picking his own path since the womb, and both being Tauruses, I presume that means she and her son are both Tauruses. We have proven that bulls do butt heads, and she wants to know what your take is on that.
Is she saying that her child is going through a female to male transition?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So, what I love about all that kind of stuff is the child is bringing in a huge amount of contrast from a social perspective, a physical perspective, etc. And there's so much growth in that it's incredible. It's so beautiful. I mean, when gays get together and guys get together and when they buy and whatever, I love it all because what they're doing is they're playing with a mix. They're not being restricted by society. They're following their heart. And, of course, along the way, they're going to get a lot of contrast, a lot of experiences.
Oh, yeah.
And to me, I can't think of anything better than a child or going through all that kind of thing. The parent helping them is really what it is. It's, the parent has a choice. They can or cannot help them if they wish. And that's just the game that is played. And all that adds to the contrast. And the important thing is to mind your own business most of the time unless somebody asks you to help, So it's fantastic. I'm excited for, who was it again?
It's Shelley's son.
Shelley. Yeah, Shelley. Hi, Shelley. I'm excited for you and your experience. It'd be interesting to hear more and more about it, of the kind of obstacles maybe that come across in society or from family. Because those are the ones that are going to be the lessons. Those are going to be the teachers to help them expand. Mm-hmm. To finding their own way, doing their own thing, and becoming the powerful soul that they are.
Right, yeah. Well, that may be part of what we talk about with this evening's podcast, because Shelley will be doing that podcast with me about 12 hours from now. So
Okay,
tune in.
Cool.
Well, actually, you may have trouble tuning in at 1 p.m., 1 in the morning, but you can listen to the recording anyway.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Really sounds great. Are there any questions on the site today? I don't know.
That was about it so far. I just wanted to add my own comment that I love the fact, Shelley, that you were following your son's lead by helping him to get the therapy that he was looking for to help make the transition from female to male. And that you deserve a lot of credit for that. Because there are parents who would be very resistant to that, and that would create a lot more contrast.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's very good.
So children now, do you know, Abram often says a bad parent is often a good parent, and a good parent is often a bad parent.
Because of the contrast?
So let me give you an example of a good parent. What society might perceive as a good parent? One that helps their child a lot, that makes their sandwiches for them, that makes sure that they don't need for anything, make sure that everything's ready and everything's coordinated, and takes them everywhere and drops them off and looks after them and wipes their bum for them. Okay.
Thank you for that visual.
So that kind of parent, Abram would consider a bad parent. Okay. Because you are, not giving the child much contrast, not giving them a lot of experience to play with, and everything's just plain sailing, so they're not learning much, they're not growing much, they're not finding their own way. Now, my little one, my 3-year-old, she often has the habit of the moment of crying when she wants something, I'm not getting it, so, and you can hear it's not a real cry because it's not pain or anything. You know, any parent knows when the child is crying because they really need some help because they're in a bad situation, or when they're just crying because they haven't got something they want. So my daughter does it quite often, and I do what society would call the bad parent, what I call the good parent. And I'll go like this, because she'll be going, and I'll be going, she'll get so angry at me, and she'll completely stop at the crying. Say, Daddy, stop that! Daddy, stop that! I say, you make a noise, I make a noise, and she'll look at me like totally angry, and she'll completely forget what the other thing was on about, and it would end it like within seconds, okay? And I would be surprised if a lot of parents would think that is not the best way to deal with the situation.
I think it's actually pretty good myself, so I don't understand the whole bad parent thing yet. But clearly I'm missing some information. I don't know what.
Well, the bad parent would take the child who's whining for something they can't get and say, oh, I'm sorry, but you can't have it because of this reason, and and maybe we can get it some other time, and I'm sorry, we'll try to get it there when I've got more money, or when I've got this, or when I've got more time, or and they try to pacify them. Okay, so what they're doing there is they're teaching them not to trust their own alignment, all right, which I'm forcing my child to do. But they're now getting them to trust the parent's alignment. Oh, maybe I'll get it later. Okay, my parent will sort it out. Okay, because I've taught my elder daughter about the law of attraction, and I said, you don't need my money to get your stuff. She says, what do you mean? I said, you have your own point of attraction, and you can get anything you want. She said, well, Dad, I want a bicycle at the moment. I said, great, let's visualize a bicycle. So I spent a little time with her, and I sent her off to visualize a bicycle. And within the week, her next door neighbor gave her old bicycle, a very nice bicycle, because it was too small for her. And by the end of the month, my friend who was going to America gave Isabel, my daughter, a second bicycle, which was bigger than the first bicycle. So within a month, within a week and a month, within a month she had manifested 2. Within a week she had manifested 1.
Wow!
Without me paying a cent. Okay, so a lot of parents feel that they are the ones who go and who need to get all the resources ready for the child to get whatever they want. None of that's true. Never has been. Never will be. That child has an incredibly strong point of attraction. They can get anything they want. Okay, but they're not taught that by society, and the parents don't believe it because they weren't brought up that way either.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
sure.
So this whole law of attraction is a very new way. I'm first generation of law of attraction. My children will be second generation, and by third generation, hopefully some of those old habits have been broken out of, and we're looking at the world in a very, very different way with a very, very different result down the line. So
right.
There will, of course, be that generational vibrational impact with the knowledge and living and working with the design of the way the universe really works, which is very beneficial. So, you're getting a lot of young entrepreneurs at the moment who are making billions, literally.
Sure.
By creating a YouTube video of their ass. Some ridiculous
I'm not sure YouTube
like
actually
that.
allows that, but yes, I understand what you mean.
Flashing. So I'm just giving you that idea that some of the most ridiculous things that possible that some of these people have come up with.
Incredible.
And my daughter's quite a fan of one of these YouTube ladies. I can't remember who she is now. And it was interesting because she talks quite a bit on and off about the law of attraction, and she's immensely positive.
Mm.
And my daughter just stumbled upon her by accident. By the law of attraction. Vibrationally a match with that. And it was really interesting that she found this one and follows her. And every time I do watch a little bit of it, I really find she's incredibly positive, which is a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Hey, we have a couple of questions and comments to share, so I'll interrupt your nice little monologue there to share some of it. First, interesting question because Nasha is one of our most loyal and consistent listeners.
Lovely to have you on.
Nasha is asking, very simply, how would you define the contrast?
Excellent question. So when I was young, I always knew that the contrast was an very important play in the physical universe. And I understood that without light, there'd be no darkness. Without a valley, there'd be no mountain. I understood that, but I never understood how contrast manifested in a human. I was confused. I did not understand that. Avram made it so simple, and people don't even really see it initially as the contrast. But the contrast in a human is by wanted and unwanted. That simple. So the contrast means when you know what you don't want, you have a better idea of what you do want. So if somebody's rude to you, then you would say, wouldn't it be nice if people were nicer to me? If you're rude to other people, you say, wouldn't it be nice if I was nicer to other people?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the contrast. The contrast is your teacher. So if somebody says to me, my teacher's my teacher, I say, well, no, the contrast that they're helping you create is your teacher. So I don't know if that's explained it to you, but if you want to know how the contrast works, it really is through wanted and lack of in a human that you discover it. And first thing that comes first is lack. Okay? The first thing that comes is a negative emotion. The first thing that comes is what you don't want. And out of that comes the expansion. So the importance of the negativity, the importance of the contrast is of immense value. And when you start understanding that, you don't hate the negative anymore. You start getting so passionate and appreciative, not necessarily passionate, but more appreciative, I think is the more correct word of the negativity and the obstacles in your life and the problems and the challenges, because they are the incredible turning point for you to help get to where you want to go, know what you want to do, be what you want to be, and have what you want to have, and want what you want. Through the process of focusing on what you want, which you get, well, the universal law of attraction will bring in of its own power more of that. So it's all about following the rocket of desire out of what you don't want to what you want, and that is called contrast. We talk about it often on the show, and that's how it works.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, I like the way you defined it. I think you did initially, or that else you did it partway through, where you talked about it being the difference or the relationship is the word I would use between what you want and what you don't want, what you like and what you don't like. That's really what the contrast is, because really all there is in the world of source energy, both in non-physical and physical, is a whole bunch of experience going on. And as physical beings, we have the power, and truly it is a power, to decide, well, I like and want that, or I don't like or want that experience over there. And then on those occasions where we set ourselves up for that experience that we don't want by focusing on it quite a bit, we say, no, I really don't want that contrast experience. I don't want that at all, which kind of ties into what you talked about earlier, how people say, I want to stay away from the negative. But the simple fact is we deal with negative all the time because we bring it in. In fact, I wanted to ask you a question kind of along the same line. Many people talk about soul contracts, the idea that we come into this life with the idea of creating scenarios and dealing with scenarios that are very specific, usually related to the primary family, but it could also just be life experiences, and that this is like a driving motivational force behind us coming here at all in the first place. What do you think of that theory? Do you agree with it? Do you disagree? Do you ignore it? What do you do?
First of all, the reason we go from non-physical to physical is simply to play with the contrast. And we play with the contrast because it's going to expand us, and we know the expansion of us expands the whole. We also know that we live in the moment. There is nothing else. And in any moment in time, you can choose a different future by thinking different thoughts. Yes?
That's true. Oh, absolutely.
So people who talk about these contracts and what they're focusing on doing, that it's not really looking at it how it is. How it is every second of the moment I'm here, I might learn something, like the law of attraction has completely changed my life. That's why we're in the Change My Life group, aren't we?
That's true.
Because it's a huge group, and the reason it's a huge group is because it has changed a huge amount of people. It
certainly has, yeah.
So that happened in a second when I started understanding it, and then started understanding a bit more, happened in another second, and then my life changed. So I might have had an idea of what I wanted before, but my idea's changed. And my idea changed based on my future thoughts of where I want to go and what I want to become. My thoughts create my reality. So you're in that position where you're changing it all the time. And I would hate to think that I came to specifically meet this person or that one, because I may choose by the time I'm more enlightened at that moment in time that it comes to bumping into them not to. Okay, so you've got this constant bunch of choices where you're always making new choices, and they talk about the living word in many religions. Okay, the living word is knowing that you live in the now and you're making your future based on your present and past thoughts. Okay, the accumulation of your past thoughts will create your future thoughts, and they will have an effect on where you go. So once you get that, you start saying, okay, what I understand from the law of attraction now is I must leave most of the unaligned stuff of my past and let it go completely. Doesn't matter who slapped me in the face, who bit me, who hit me, who stole my money, who stole my wife, who stole my husband, who stole my kids, who killed them. Okay, we have to let that all go if we want to move anywhere in a happy place. We have to let it all go, and the quicker, what I'm learning more and more of is just to let it go like that. Because
that's the goal for me. Like
as soon as I start feeling negative emotion about somebody or something that I've heard, as soon as I know that I'm at fault, not them, never. They're never at fault. Because if I look at it differently, I can move forward and have a fantastic life without them. But if I want to drag them in with me, I can carry them on my shoulders and pull that weight along. Not my idea of fun anymore. I'd rather just, bye-bye. I know where I'm going, this way. If you want to come back and maybe you're heading in the same direction, we can join up again, which is not unlikely because the law of attraction will bring people who you had before in your past back into your life. Mm-hmm. But if you're clearly focused on where you're going, they'll come in at a more positive angle.
And that's a key point right there. What angle do you want them to come in on? People often forget that one.
And I always noticed when I was a kid at school, that I've mentioned this once before on the program, but it's worth mentioning again, especially since we're talking about kids. I was so excited about those guys who were selling silkworms and making money, that were creating some form of art and selling it. That were making wire cars. I'm back in Africa now. I loved those cars with the shoe polish lids as wheels, and they steered like this. You had this little steering wheel up here that you held, and you had this little wire car which you pushed, and it steered nicely. And I love those things. Those guys were selling them, and they were entrepreneurs. They knew what they wanted. They were going to get it, and they knew the money was put aside, and they were going to get this with it. And they had a focus and they had a plan. Some people were more intellectual about it. Some people were more practical about it. Some people were more artistic about it. But those people that were going places, you admired, okay? Like, wow, I like them. And often the guys who are successful at the sports, etc., you admire them because they're getting out there, they're getting on the field, and they're playing their heart out, and they're winning, or not. But they're going out there and they're doing something. Okay? Right. They're not just the guys who are sitting on the sidelines and not doing anything, just cheering them on or whatever. Okay? There's a bit to that. It's not nothing. But you got to admire those guys that were going somewhere. And if you want people to admire you, need to go somewhere. You need to start creating. Have a vision and move forward. Then people will start coming from all different angles and jump on board with you. And it might be none of your past people. It might just be new people, or it might be some of the old people and some of the new people. But they'll be coming in at an angle where they'll be much happier. And this is how you work with your kids. You often want to work with your kids like that. You want them to see you moving forward, going in a direction, having a clear idea of what you're doing, and then that example will help them lead them forward to go there. If you're excited about life and you're going forward and you're moving, then they're going to feel that vibration. They're going to want some of it.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be because you're their parent, just because what you're doing is interesting. It's exciting. It's like fun. Let's go there.
I'm a bit of a mentor for a couple of kids along the way. Okay, and I often find that my child will learn more from my brother than does from me. Okay, so there's often a time when the parent is not the ideal teacher, and be prepared to let your children find other mentors. Okay, there are some great people out there in the environment, especially if they're focused and clear about what they want. They will draw those other people to them, and let them guide your child too, because even if it's something you don't like, it'll be contrast, and contrast allows the child to choose what they like. All right? And, if they've got a bunch of druggy friends, they might choose that this is not what they want or what they want. And it's really got nothing to do with you. You don't have much choice about the whole matter. You don't. And the more you push against, you're terrible friends, you're not going to win. You're just not going to win. They're going to rebel against you, especially if they're teenagers in that kind of era, and it's going to be a completely losing battle. So appreciate the contrast, and trust your child has had, trust your child knows that it wants to play with the contrast and grow, because everybody does this without exception. That is the case.
I wanted to also bring in a comment that Beth Ann made. She was actually making it about 3 subtopics ago, but it ties in directly with what you're talking about here. So I figure, okay, here's a good time to bring it in. She says, I turned into this podcast for reasons I wasn't sure of, because my children are adults. I didn't really think I'd benefit from this topic, but wow, it's exactly what I needed today. Thank you very much. So
you're most welcome.
We're hitting some nerves there.
I'd love to know what part was clear, and if there's anything you wanted a bit more clarity on.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Beth Ann, if you have something you want to add on to that, let us know. We'll bring it into the conversation. Suraj is also here, and Suraj asked a kind of a broad question. Suraj. He says, as a parent, what are we supposed to do? That was the extent of his question.
So the question I like asking people is the Richard Bach illusion question. So Donald Shimoda says to Richard, he says, Richard, how many people do you think live on this planet? And
I just realized I messed up. Hang on a second here. There was more to it, and I missed a key piece of it. So let me try that one again. And I also have more information from Beth Ann, too. Let's do Beth Ann first, because we were just talking about Beth Ann's, and then we'll go to Suraj. So Beth Ann said, I spent 22 years married to and having children with an abuser. After 10 years of being divorced from him and manifesting an incredible life now, I've learned what a wonderful contrasting experience I had with him for 22 years. I now believe he and I... let's see, where's the rest of that comment? Hold on a second. That's one of the fun things about trying to pick up the comments off of Facebook. That he and I had a soul contract. I really think that once we both transition, we will shake hands and say to each other, thank you, well done, well done. It's so powerful to think about, she says. So, what do you think there?
First of all, I feel so much gratitude in hearing somebody appreciate the contrast in that manner. Okay, because oftentimes people don't get there and they die before that. Okay.
Yeah, right.
So, how beautiful is that? Knowing that you completely love and respect and appreciate the person who, in your past, you believed abused you. To me, that is exactly how it's supposed to be. You chose that person. You were a vibrational match to that person, or you wouldn't have had that person in your life. So, could you even blame them? You know, if you understood this beforehand, you couldn't blame them. But if you understood this beforehand, you probably wouldn't have landed up in that situation. So, you wouldn't have had that great contrast going on there. So it's a beautiful position to be in, is to get to that place afterwards and look back and say, wow, thank you for that contrast. Because look at what I am and what you have helped make me today. This incredible, powerful, clearly knows what I want, manifesting and just living life to the fullest. And it's all because of you. You helped me. Thank you. And what can the person say to that besides, oh my gosh.
What have I done? What have I done?
Oh my gosh. And there's so many people in the world today who I'd love to see get to that position because they're not yet. I've helped a lady for many years now, and she's slowly sort of divorced and everything and looking after the children, still having the husband try to make her feel guilty about everything. And it's been a transition, and slowly but surely it's coming to appreciate the place, the part that he played. And it is a... Time helps. Time helps you see it clearer, especially when you get more and more distance from it. It really, really helps. But if you go in right in the beginning, understanding that contrast is your teacher, and you're clear about it, I will never get an abusive situation, partner. It's not something that can vibrationally possibly happen to me. It can't, because I'm not a match to it. I would never... It'll never happen to me. And you start understanding that my contrast, the things that I'm looking for, are completely different. Okay? And they manifest all around me in different ways, but I appreciate them for the manifestation that they are, rather than the other kind of contrast. There's certain things I know and it's never going to happen to me, because you start becoming very clear about what you're vibrational match to and what you're not. I'm way too confident and clear about who I am and where I'm going, that these things are not going to bombard me, that I used to worry about now. The worry that I used to have about them are the things that would make the space in my vortex for them to come in and affect me.
That's a very good point.
But there is no worry about that. If somebody started doing anything to me, I'd understand how to reverse it by my thinking and my focus and my clarity, and I would just get out of it like that. I would never get into it in the first place. It's not a possibility anymore. For many of the things, there are many other things that I can now see. So the contrast between happiness and hope and expectation is often where I'm playing at the moment. But it's not between the depression, and revenge. Okay, so different people are playing at different levels of the contrast,
right?
And there's always contrast, and you can play with it at any degree. So just be excited about that, especially with your kids when you're looking at them playing with their contrast. You are not wanting to put your hands in there and say, "Stop! Don't do that! It's going to hurt! It's bad for you." You say, "Well, don't touch that hot plate. You'll find out it's hot, and I won't have to ever tell you again." No.
Well, actually, on that very point, we have that other question from Suraj, and I didn't give you the full question before because it got broken up in the comments. That's why I missed it.
Sure.
But I've pieced it all together here. So here's what he was asking. He says, "How?" I'm going to have to kind of translate because his wording was a little bit weird. How can kids raise their vibrations if they have a bad day in school or with bullying? Because kids who are used to yelling at home after the incident, I'm not quite sure what he's saying there. Is there any way to sort out the situation as a parent? What should we do? So I'm not totally clear, but I think you get the gist of it.
Child, you can maybe, Suraj, you can maybe answer this as quickly as you can. Maybe I don't know how much time we have left. But my first question is, do they understand the law of attraction? My second question is, do they understand that a subject depicts your emotional state? Okay, if you're thinking about bullying, you're not going to feel happy. If you're thinking about your dog or your cat that you love, you're going to feel happy. Are they fully aware of that? Are they aware that subjects change your vibrational state, different subjects? Very, very important, because I didn't really get that. You kind of think you're depressed and the whole world's depressed and everything's depressed and depression's depression and nothing's right. But you forget that a lot of the time you're not depressed. You actually don't count that. When you're asleep, you're not depressed. Your vibration is stable. The interesting thing about sleep is the universal law of attraction stops working when you sleep. For you. Okay, not for everything and everyone. But no thoughts go out, therefore none are creating attraction. So if somebody wants to get rid of bullying or stop bullying, the first thing I would say is understand the law of attraction. Understand that whatever you focus on gets magnified. Understand that if you're worried about bullying, it's going to get bigger. Understand that if you focus on building more confidence in yourself, that's where you'll go. And the more you can focus on that, the more universal law of attraction will bring in the power to help you move out of that.
Suraj has also added one detail. He says his son is 7 years old.
Right. My 10-year-old learned the law of attraction at 8-year-olds. And I could have taught it at 7, but I did start teaching her at 7. Yes. It's quite easy to start teaching a child then. Quite easy. So the way I started with my daughter was...
That's what he wants to know, too. He's asking, how do you teach LOA to a 7-year-old?
So you just say, when you're happy, you're going to bring more happiness into your life. Okay, it's a simple concept, nothing too confusing about it. If you're unhappy, you're going to bring more unhappiness into your life. Sorry, just give me a second. I need to close the door here.
Got a little enthusiastic background noise. And Suraj, I see your question. Is there any book or article or any podcast? Give Louis a chance when he comes back. He'll give you a pretty good explanation, I think. Louis, Suraj just added a second question to go along with it, kind of a follow-up. He says, is there any book or article or any podcast that would help to learn more about what you're talking about? But I urged him to just let you continue your explanation.
No, I'll add this in because it's a good thing. So Jerry Hicks has made a lovely audio with Abraham called... I have it on my phone. I bought it straight away, and it's fantastic for kids. Absolutely gorgeous. I bought it on Audible, so it's read to you, which I love. I love audiobooks. Okay, I've remembered, so I don't have to go there. It's called Sarah.
Oh, yes, right. Yes, I've seen that.
The Sarah books. Now, the Sarah books are fantastic for helping the parent and the child understand the law of attraction, and it goes in incredible detail. Like she's crossing a river and she falls into it, but she's learned from the law of attraction and from her owl teacher that if she trusts herself and remains happy, she'll be safe. So she gets thrown around this river and all the rest of it and gets out of the bottom, but wet and soggy, and walks home and dries off, but not hurt in the smallest amount. And yet something quite drastic happened to her. So understanding that and teaching a child that if you want to protect yourself at school, remain happy as much and as long as possible, okay, and keep the subject matter happy. So my daughter's always helping other children at school, and I got the most beautiful report from the last year's teacher about my child who should be the person who brings world peace.
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
Yeah. So whenever a child is anxious or frustrated or any negative emotion, she's often going to help get them to follow the rocket of desire. She really loves those words, so that it resonates with kids big time. Go from the rocket of desire, what you don't want, to rocket of desire to what you do want. So you follow that rocket. So she gets the kids to understand that, you know, we know what you don't want now. You don't want them to bully you. So wouldn't it be nice if they were nicer to you? You know, and let's focus on that for a little while. Let's talk about that. How would that be? How wouldn't it, you know, let's talk about it. Let's visualize it. Let's think. So she'll often go to them and start talking to them about changing them from a negative emotion to a positive emotion. The teacher obviously has acknowledged this and recognized it, which is nice to see, because I didn't ask for any of that. It was just, and it's purely since the law of attraction that this started happening. It was not before.
And Suraj, I just pasted a link from Amazon to the first Sarah book in the part where you posted your question about where. So you can find a link there. And
yeah, there's 3 books. They're not the shortest, but they're very clear and very simple. I love them. My daughter's read them 3 or 4 times now.
Saying thank you very much from India. He's very appreciative. So thank you for your suggestions and for your thoughts on the subject, which is good.
Fantastic. Yeah, I love it. Bringing up your children and having them bring you up, I'm always looking at the emotional state of my child. Mm. And they're often happier, a lot more happier than I am, oftentimes. So I try and lean on that. I try and, get myself doing what they're doing, playing what they're playing, having what they're having, often, so that I can raise my own vibration. Because they really are more in alignment than I am. And I understand why. I understand that I've wanted a lot of things in my life, and I haven't got them. And that has made me a little grumpier and a little more angrier than I would be. And I never understood the law of attraction. I didn't understand how to manifest from the vortex. I didn't understand the vortex existed. So, all of this putting in place has made it a lot easier for me. And as I was said in one of the other podcasts, which is so true, is I'm not tortured by my mind anymore. My mind used to have a huge negative effect on my body. Mm.
That's a huge thing to change for sure, because when you change that, you change the entire tenor of your life, which is that's where I'm aiming to too. That's hopefully where our listeners are aiming to as well. And unfortunately, we've kind of run low on time here, but
yeah.
But I appreciate the fact. Yeah, I've enjoyed it too. I've loved some of the ideas you've been sharing too, so thank you for doing that. Quick reminder to people, if you're not yet a subscriber, become a subscriber. The links are in the description most places. If you don't see the links, go to loatoday.net. And then after you become a member and a subscriber, or also for our existing subscribers, please share the fact that you're listening to this and all the podcasts. We really appreciate that. And we really appreciate you too, Louis. Thank you for sharing your insights, especially the insights of what it was like raising your children from the early ages and teaching them how the law of attraction works.
And Walt, I don't know anybody who's better in your position and the way you do things. It's amazing. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.
Take care, guys. Carpe diem.